And after one of the most bitterly fought elections in modern U.S. history, a new session of Congress is formally convening. You're looking at live pictures from Washington, D.C. There you have it, the first time that new members of the U.S. House and Senate will officially take their seats. The Democratic Party's Nancy Pelosi is expected to remain in charge of the House of Representatives. And for now, Republican Mitch McConnell still controls the Senate. But that could all change if Democrats win two special elections in Georgia on the 5th of January.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly...
You have new members being sworn in there in those pictures. Let's go now for more to Washington, D.C. and our correspondent, Carolina Chimoy. Carolina, good to see you. What is on the agenda for the new Congress today?
Happy New Year, Claire. Well, a new Congress, as you said, convenes now here in Washington, D.C., and this is the 117th Congress of the United States. The official swearing in of lawmakers is taking place. The Congress is also coming together for the first time, and so they will first have to go through all the organization of the Congress. They will be adopting administrative resolutions. They should also consent to a date on which bills and resolutions may begin to be introduced, and they, of course, are going also to vote their new speaker. The Democrat Nancy Pelosi, as you said, she seeks re-election again, but it will all depend on how many Democrats are able to assist to the joint session, because they all have to vote in person in Washington on the floor today, and this is different than the last bills that could be voted by proxy. So that means they were allowed to vote from wherever they were, allowing someone else to cast their ballot in person. But this was due to the pandemic. Now they need a new ruling for that. And because of this, the gathering has to be in person, so the vote as well. And it will all depend on how many Democrats are going to be in Washington today in order to vote Pelosi. We also know that the Democrats have lost some seats in the House, but they still control it. And the Senate is not really clear yet.
That's right, Carolina, I understand in addition to those procedural changes, it's also an unusual situation because it still remains unclear whether Democrats or Republicans will control the Senate. What's the story there?
That's a very interesting story, because Georgia's runoff is in 2 days on the 5th of January. And we're going to see two Democrats and two Republicans running for 2 seats in the Senate. And if the Democrats, if they do win all 2 seats, they would control the Senate. Why? Because they would have half of the seats there. And this would give the vice president, that means Kamala Harris, a Democrat, the last word on the votes there. We know that a lot of people have already cast their mail-in ballots, similar to the presidential election. And we also know that Kamala Harris is there today in Georgia, and Donald Trump is expected probably tomorrow in Atlanta.
And so what does the outcome of that Georgia runoff mean for President-elect Joe Biden's agenda and his ability to get his policies passed through Congress?
This is, of course, very important, Claire, because this will decide if President Biden can pass bills and reforms, or if he is going to be a so-called lame duck, being blocked constantly in the upper chamber by the Republican senators. He would be one of the first presidents in many years to become a president without the majority in this upper chamber. So this will definitely be a very important election, the one in Georgia, in 2 days.
Now, Carolina, we also have a situation where there are about a dozen Republican lawmakers saying they're going to object to the formal certification of the presidential election, and that's in an effort to overturn Biden's victory. Now, briefly, if you could, how big of a threat is that really to the Biden administration?
These are 12 senators there. They are being led by Ted Cruz from Texas, but they probably are not going to have a real big impact on seeing Joe Biden as a president or not. This is much more an election to see, a test to see who is supporting Donald Trump and who isn't. This is the kind of question that stays really behind that.
All right, Carolina Chimoy in Washington, D.C., thank you so much.